Hey folks, this is the fighting nerd, Ray Chalinsky, coming to you from the Resistance Bunker. It is Memorial Day in the United States. And I was going to skip the video this week because it was Memorial Day. But I decided not to because something made me really concerned and not a little angry. The case of Tommy Robinson. Now, for those of you who don't know who Tommy is, he is a British activist who is pretty right-wing and is very critical of many of the policies of the British government. He was also largely responsible for allaying what they call the grooming scandal. And the grooming scandal was is probably, a ring of pedophiles, largely from Pakistan, living in Great Britain in the village of Rotterdam. I think I'm pronouncing that correct. And over a period of at least 20 years, but at least a couple of decades, they were abducting young children, girls and boys, and systematically grooming them to be child sex slaves. And this was reported. This was not something that the government was completely unaware of all this time. It was constantly reported. A couple of fathers of these children even tracked where the children were to where they were being taken and called the police and wound up facing charges themselves. And Mr. Robinson was leading the charge. He was yelling about this for years before anything was finally done. They finally made a lot of arrests and claim that the ring has been smashed. We'll see about that. Now, a couple of days ago, they were having a trial of some of these pedophiles. And Mr. Robinson was out there doing what he does. He is a alternative media journalist. And he was there to film the trial. He wasn't talking about he wasn't protesting. He wasn't speaking. He wasn't even talking about the details of the trial. He was just saying, hey guys, they finally have the trial. And he was arrested. Now, he had a previous charge for contempt of court relating to his activities trying to get the British government to toe the line, so to speak, about the problem with crimes committed by immigrants specifically pedophilia, and basically was held in contempt of court because the court didn't like being made to look bad, in my opinion. And they took him away. They just took him directly to jail because of this previous charge. And the British government put a media blackout throughout the entire country, so they're not even allowed to report on his arrest. Now, the UK doesn't have a First Amendment. I'm a Second Amendment guy. But the First Amendment like we do. These laws for silencing journalists have always been in place, but they're rarely used. Usually they're used when a member of the royal family steps in legal or moral doggy-doo, but in this case it was just Tommy Robinson. Now, there are some protests. I guess there's some very vigorous protests. And there's a lot of outrage coming from the left and the right in Great Britain. Good for you. But I want to talk about this as it relates to the United States, because we do have a Second Amendment for now. Second Amendment. Second Amendment is going to come into this, but we do have a First Amendment for now. We have a Bill of Rights for now, but I can guarantee you that there are people in Washington, in our own government. There are people in the state governments. There are people in the media. And there are people in academia that want the same kind of laws applied here as in the United States. They want the First Amendment repealed a lot more than they want the Second Amendment repealed. They want to see the First Amendment go. They want the whole Bill of Rights gone because people like you and me and the people that will be watching this video and the guys that slog through life every day, paycheck to paycheck, stump through life with a cane, whatever. The ordinary people, they want you to sit down, shut up, and do what we're told. So they are watching what's going on in Great Britain right now, and they're going to look at the level of outrage or the level of apathy in Great Britain, and they're going to use that as a benchmark to see how much crap the American people will take. So if you do see a headline or a news blip or a crawler on the screen about Tommy Robinson being imprisoned for covering a trial that should have been held decades ago if the British authorities were competent in the least, and you think, well, that's Great Britain. It can't happen here. Yes, it can. And if you think it can, if you convince yourself that it can't happen here, you almost guarantee that it will happen here. Now, I'm a gun guy, I'm a knife guy. I believe in the Second Amendment. But there's a reason, and this is not new. A lot of people said that there's a reason there was a Second Amendment. It came right after the First Amendment because the first thing that people have to be able to do in a representative republic, and we're not a democracy, folks, we are a representative republic. But the first thing that somebody has to be able to do in a representative republic is be able to speak his mind, particularly about politics, and particularly in criticizing the government. Making my camera shake. But we have to be able to criticize our government, or the church, or even each other, without fear of repercussions. And yeah, I know the whole argument about yelling fire in a theater. But saying something that hurts somebody's feelings is not saying fire in a theater. And pointing out government incompetence is not saying yelling fire in a theater. And exposing the victimization in the most horrible way of children is not yelling fire in a theater. Now, they just ruled that Twitter, in the case of Donald Trump anyway, is a public forum, and he's not allowed to block people who criticize him. Even though they're saying the most vile things. But watch how fast an American citizen will get banned if they talk trash about transgenders or gays or Muslims or just about any group except white Christian males. It's coming, folks. Now, they go full tilt boogie woogie against the Second Amendment because that's our first line of defense. Once words have been taken away, weapons might be our only recourse, and they're trying to take the words away. Over here, they call it political correctness or social justice warriors. Over there, they're just taking people off the streets. They're putting a man in there for a bad joke for teaching. They're finding him and we're threatening prison because he taught his dog the Hitler salute as a bad joke. Tommy Robinson is the most egregious case, but they're putting people in jail for Facebook posts about Muslims, about transgenders. They are finding people, they're putting them in prison for expressing opinions that are unpopular, even when sometimes they're clearly satirical, and they're clearly joking. A lot of people say we have to wake up, folks. It's not enough to wake up. We have to stand up. I have, a cheaper camera. My audio is out of sync. I'm making videos. I'm writing novels that put these kind of elements in there that show people what might happen if they don't stand up now. Words and ideas now, or guns and knives later. Guns and knives later. Right now, for a brief period, we still have the ability to resist with words and ideas. But they're coming for us, folks. They're coming for the words and ideas. Our educational system is a joke, so we don't have any ideas. Most people don't read books anymore. And if they do, it's about sparkling vampires or sadomasochistic sex with a rich guy. They're telling us that we can't say things that offend people, or we're going to get banned from this private company and that private company. And they're trying to make laws here about hate speech. And it started with hate crimes. Now they're talking about hate speech. You see how this goes? Look, you pick out somebody for whatever reasons. They're fat. They have a beard. Whatever. And you beat the living crap out of them. That's assault. If you kill them, it's murder. And it doesn't matter that if you did it because he had a beard, or because he was gay, or because he was black, or he's a gray alien from Zeta fucking Reticuli. You murdered him. But they're punishing the thought behind the action. Right? So they got people who seem to be okay with that. They let that get by, and now they just want to punish the thought. You think they'll stop there? Eventually, they'll come for the books. They'll delete the e-books on your Kindle. They'll come for the physical books because ideas come from books. Ideas come from words. Words make history, my motto. What they're doing to Tommy Robinson now, if they get away with it, they'll be doing here. And they'll be doing in Canada. And all the representative republics. And when they get done with that, they will come for the books. It will be Fahrenheit 451. It will be 1984. But we're not helpless, folks. We all have talents that we can apply to this. I write novels. Now, I'm writing novels in a culture that really doesn't read much anymore. But that's where my wheelhouse is. I'm making these videos and ranting at the camera, trying to make people understand. You all have talents. You all have something you can do. If nothing else, strike up a conversation with somebody at a grocery store in line while that's still legal, and tell them what's going on. Tell them that they're coming for the First Amendment and the Second Amendment and the whole Bill of Rights, and then the books, and then for people who aren't thinking right. And they will say you're nuts. They'll say you're a conspiracy theorist. But you know what? We need a conspiracy theorist. We need people that will get out of this dumbed down, watered down culture that's being produced by a joke of an education system and a media apparatus that is nothing but a propaganda arm for an elitist group of people that just want the average person to be a troglodyte, to be an Eloi. Carry the heavy stuff, dig the ditches, fix the plumbing, keep my machines working, and do as you're frickin' told. That's what the Obamas of the world want. That's what the McCains of the world want. Two ends of the spectrum here. It doesn't matter. McConnell does not give a crap about you. Obama never gave a crap about you. The political parties in general don't give a crap about anybody that isn't a power player in their parties. And what threatens them most is the free expression of ideas. It's what threatens them most. So go out there. Read. Go out there. Find out what's going on for yourself. Come to your own conclusions. And talk about those conclusions. Whatever they are. Blog about them. Write about them. Yell at a camera about them. But use this gray matter in your head. Use that computer between your ears for something other than looking at kittens and watching a friggin' royal wedding. Because they are not going to take our freedoms. If our freedoms go away, it's because we gave them away. We allowed them to go away. But we're at a critical junction. I think 5 or 10 years from what's going on in the UK now, unless it stops soon, the UK won't even have a veneer of a Republican government. It will not be a representative Republican. It won't even be a democracy. It will be an authoritarian regime trying to look like a republic or a democracy. And the United States will not be far behind. We've got a window of time. I'm thinking 20 years. While we still have the First Amendment, while we still have the Second Amendment, while we still have the rest of the Bill of Rights to fight with words and ideas. Because after that, the only chance we'll have for freedom are going to be weapons. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it never comes to that. I hope I'm completely wrong about it, but I don't think I am. So think about that. And get out there and do something. This is The Fighting Nerd, Ray Chelinsky, and his co-host, Jolly Roger, bidding you good day from the Resistance Bunker.